Hello everyone, it's Friday night and it is Weekender time once more. Your chance to kick back and relax as we take a dive into the past 7 days of tabletop gaming goodness. In this week's jam-packed show, we take a look at Saga, for example, as well as checking out some movie recommendations for the Korean Imjin War. If you want to know more, just stay tuned. But before all that, we have a massive prize from store.ontabletop.com. If you want to be in with a chance to win the Leagues of Votann army deal, then you need to be a subscriber to the YouTube channel and pop a comment below. If you can also share us around and give us a like, that helps us out enormously. Otherwise, sit back and relax because your weekend starts here. Hello everyone and welcome to another Friday night fun fest that is the Weekender. I'm joined by Ben, Justin and Lud. And my word, what a big handsome box of roly-poly dwarves they were.
I know. Talk about a mega prize.
I mean, I know we're sold out.
Yeah, that beastie's going to be hard to get hold of. So if you didn't get a hold of it, this is your chance.
Yeah.
do the necessary below. You've already been told. But yeah, there's going to be a few months to wait before they reappear. If the sisters or anything to go by in the past, I think it was 6-7 months before they actually got a release.
I think maybe it'll be a little quicker this time around because we've not got the event that happened.
Oh, that's true.
But we'll see. But I have seen some interesting stuff online of being like, these two pictures are not the same. So there was a Tau and there was a Votann, and it was like, I can't paint Tau, but I can paint Votann. Well, they're basically the same models, really. So there.
I have to wonder. It's been a while since I've looked. Is the allies chart still a thing? Are you going to have to biro in who the League of Votann can actually ally?
Oh yeah, that'd be interesting. Just scratch it in at the end of the codex. Yeah,
I think it's go nuts. Do anything. It'll just be like Chaos no, Tranids no, Orcs no. Everybody else, fill your boots.
There's just a pile of grudge markers on top of the
they don't trust. They're not trusting allies for anybody. It's all distrust across the board. But yeah, cracking looking prize for this week. So don't forget to do the necessary. And talking about massive boxes of fun, interesting little thing has arrived.
Ooh.
So
what you got there, Justin? You got the big box?
Look how shiny it is. Look how shiny it is. Do you see the shiny? No, this is Sturgium Skies for the folks from Warcradle for Dystopian Wars. So if you've ever seen Hunt for the Prometheus, that's their naval one. This one focuses more on aerial goodness.
And not the mermaid.
They have Zeppelins.
And we're going to be doing themed week stuff. And we're going to be using this box in our themed week, aren't we?
Yes, we currently have 2 of these in the office, and I have been given the task, or the joy, shall we say, of building the entire 2-player starter set ASAP.
The issue I have with flying things in Dystopian Wars is your regular ships, they just sink. With your flying things, they get shot out of the sky, they crash into the water, and then they sink. It's a whole other level of terror. And
it's just even worse for the crew of a Zeppelin.
So long as it's just the engines that went out on the Zeppelin, it'll float because it's still just a big balloon.
I imagine it's not filled with hydrogen in Dystopian Wars.
It's like an Outworld.
Yeah, it's going to be filled with what's the special Antarctican stuff that powers all their ships?
Oh, is the RJ-1027?
That's the one. I knew you'd know it. I wasn't going to know it.
It's weird. It's kind of lodged in my brain.
I love the helicarriers.
I think they're really cool.
Look cool. Yeah.
Show us the picks big. I think there's further ones down.
Yeah. So this is a clash set between the Imperium and also the Crown. But the really interesting about this one is it's the Crown, but it's the Canadian side of things. So it's going for that sort of Commonwealth vibe. And the sort of feel behind the set is that it's the Imperium are invading, and the Canadians have kind of had to scramble this sort of rotor force to try and stop the Imperium from, doing all their nasty stuff and taking over their land and things. So it's on the Imperium, you've got Commodore Wilhelmina von Huppener, I said that right, clearly. And on the Canadian side, we have Crown Air Marshal Spotswood, which I think is an amazing name for an air marshal. So yeah, some very cool stuff. One of the things I really like when I saw this set as well is that I love how they've done the designs with Dystopian Wars now, where you can immediately tell which faction a set of ships
coming for
belong
you
to, because you're like, well, that one's got filigree on it. It's definitely a crown ship. Does it also have a little bit of a hint of a train? Probably the crown. And then on the other side of things, you've got in the Imperium where it's just rivets. Rivets for days.
Although you got it back to front there, Ben. It's the Imperium that do all the modular ships where it rolls in and out on the,
is it?
the tracks. Yeah. Although, interesting thing. So you see the big Zeppelin up the top.
Yeah.
So the way you've got like the helicarrier thing going on. Now, I've been having a look at this and I thought, wait a minute, that plane's pointed the wrong way for takeoff. They don't actually take off from that top deck.
No, that's the landing.
So if you look in below, they actually have like launch racks that fold out from the bottom of the Zeppelin, and each one's loaded with an aircraft.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
We can't. We only see them from above.
It just spits them out.
Yeah. Well, it drops them and it's just like, okay, hit the engines before you hit the water.
We've all seen Indiana Jones, where they had the spotter plane suspended below.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that is how they launch them from Zeppelins. Yeah. So it's all good, clean family fun. And I'm a huge fan of the Rocketeer, so anytime you have massive Zeppelin-like things floating around the place that you can attack is always good. And
Definitely.
Here we have Predain War Class. It's got me coming and going, because I looked at that, I'm going, is that front or is that the back? I'm pretty sure that's the back.
That's the rear. I'm guessing those look like rocket motors to me.
I was thinking about this week when I was talking about the other releases that have come out for the pre-orders that are coming out for Dystopian Wars, and I was like, it's becoming increasingly less of a nice job to be a sailor on a normal boat in Dystopian Wars, when you could either be in an airship or a plane, or in a massive walker, or a submarine squid, which I think is probably a little bit better, and then you can just destroy all the sailors in the middle that have got the worst jobs. So,
But, Ben, it is, the dystopian age. Some of those might just be straight up automata, and they might not actually need crew.
True, yeah.
It's very, very true indeed.
I'm guessing you're wanting to do it like the Iron Giant.
That would be cool, yeah.
That's one way of looking at it.
Sticking it to the man. Yeah.
But it'll be fascinating to get our hands on that and get it onto the table. We'll be doing a whole host of Theme Week things in the not too distant future, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Important to note, it's not replacing The Hunt for Prometheus.
No, they're both going to be out at the same time. In fact, I think that one comes out for pre-order today, doesn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it's up for pre-order today.
Yeah.
So depending on the fleet you want and the style you want, you may want to pick one of the boxes over the other.
Yeah, and it's nice that they've switched up the factions for it. So if you were looking at The Hunt for Prometheus and you didn't like the two factions in there, this is giving you like more choice for more ways to get in.
Anyway, that's enough of that. We don't want to spill our guts too soon.
Not with a whole week coming.
Got to keep something back. But we will push on with the show. And the most important part of the show, it's time for the Indie of the Week.
Yay.
And this week, we're going to be taking a look at Paymaster games. Because I'm like that. It's an interesting little indie. I found them when I was looking for suppliers of a New Zealand-based game, actually. This is the tangled web I weave through the internet. So there's some really nice, we've looked at them before, Mana games have got a range called Primal, Tribal, and Brutal. And it's about the Maori fighting in New Zealand and that sort of thing. And then supplements and expansions that go from there. So I was looking for stockists closer to home to save having to ship things all the way from New Zealand. And came across Paymaster, who stock them, but they stock those rules as an aside to their own line, which is called Going Native Warpath, which is all about Central, South, and Mesoamerica, both wargamey humans and also a whole Galvi bucket load, an utter bucket load of mythological creatures, almost all of which you have never heard of.
I mean,
I'm just saying it now. You will not have heard of these. Occasionally you will, you'll look at someone and go, "Oh, I've heard of a winged serpent before," and then I'll go, "Yeah, but have you heard of the demon otters?" You hadn't, had you? And yet
Demon
they
otters?
exist. They
Wow,
lure people to the death
demon
and try
otter.
them. Yeah, we'll get to the demon otters in
What,
time.
do they sneak into your hut and steal your baby?
No, they lure you down to the riverbank and then drown you. Knowing otters and the fondness
lovely.
of rocks, they probably bash your heads in as well because otters. But we'll start with humans. So in the main, they are 28 mil and sort of historically accurate. There are a few cutesy, chibi looking things going on in some places, which are,
This doesn't look
depends on
cute
people's
or
taste.
chibi to me.
No. This is one of the spot on ones. You'll see some of these later on, especially in the Aztecs.
Yeah, those damn eyes, man, they bore right into you, look into your soulless, insides of yourself.
But for a line of Polynesian and Mesoamerican figures, there are not many companies out there doing them, so it's nice to have another one. The range is mostly metal and resin. I say mostly. Range is entirely resin and metal. So you get a lot of the 28 mil style figures will be. I need to find a place to put us. I'm going to put us here so I can reach buttons. There we go. Well done, us. Most of the human figures were going to be metal, and then the larger bits and pieces will be your resin, so the mythological creatures and that sort of thing. But they are absolutely darling.
Really are very nice. Yeah,
I think it is.
Are they mostly just focusing on the tribal side of things for the miniatures, or are there any Europeans or conquistadors?
Oh no, nobody cares about them. This is all before
into tribe warfare.
This is
all
tribal
warfare
all
the time.
Yeah, Europe can jog on. Europe had not landed on any of these shores at this stage. So I say that there is, I think, some Hawaiians with a British flag later on, which they may have got off some shipwrecked people.
We stole this.
Yeah. This is ours now.
Oh, here we go. This is the stuff now. The tiny,
the tiny pictures. I knew you'd like that,
and
Lloyd.
Apparently, the flashing line. Are you going to type in that, going, "Please give me bigger pictures"?
No, I'm not. Why would I do that? Pictures are sufficient. If the picture's too small for you people, put your nose closer to the screen. It will increase the size of the picture. There you go.
Enhance.
Yep. Yeah. Very much so. Seawolf is particularly interesting.
Really? Oh my God, that's adorable.
Yeah.
Is it like a dolphin lion?
Yeah, I was going to say, did a lion and a dolphin get drunk?
It could be.
It's lovely. Whatever it is.
Man. The details are gorgeous on this.
I assume these are all taken from kind of like folklore or history from the islands and things.
And this is the interesting thing, because they're delving into some really, I wouldn't say forgotten, because obviously people know about it, but the West-centric idea of us means that we often don't look at a lot of tribal legends and myths in as much detail as the people themselves. So they've got that, but then they've also had to go and work out how they would look. In some cases, that very the Incan and Aztec style of carving. So they've used things like that, and then had to try and work out how this creature would actually look when rendered
in
3 dimensions properly.
I suspect this creature isn't really there, and they're just high as kites.
It's a beautiful dream.
It's very Disney. I'm going to say that for that particular creature.
It is a little bit.
That's the sea wolf. How can you say that's Disney?
The thing that
you also get the background on them as well, so you can see
that's
here.
Nice. Yeah.
After an epic battle, Wasco was able to kill the ill-tempered monster. So, blah 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 blah. A small anklet cub, only a couple of weeks old.
She adopted it.
So she adopted it after butchering that, and then after butchering Mum, stole the kids and trained it to kill their enemies.
It reminds me of the people who've done the realistic drawings of what based on the illuminations from kind of Christian manuscripts and things, which I think is hilarious. So, but it's nice to see that done in a different way and putting together interesting folklore stuff from a place that we don't really know. Well, I don't really know much about, so it's really cool. So
no, I haven't got a notion. every now and again I'll see something or read something that'll show you, a small snapshot into a specific thing, whether it's an island or what have you.
Yeah.
But then the rest of it is completely exciting and new to me. There's a stone thrower.
Do you know if the
yo-yos?
Do you know if the games themselves that these can be kind of used for, are they like warbandy style games?
Yeah.
Or so they are, right? Okay.
So their own game, going native, is very much a warband thing, and then primal and brutal and tribal that they've bought in from Mana are the same. You see, you're looking for a small model count, but then you also have the ability to expand those with a whole host of interesting creatures, I suppose is the best way to put it.
So having the range be a really nice selection of kind of individual modules that have that kind of unique feel to them, it's kind of definitely the way to go. Yeah, that's cool.
And then there's, Mythic Americas for Warlords of Erebon.
Of course,
as well. So this is another place that you can pick up models for that if you're already playing that, if that's your bag. Also, I really like the fact that you can get totem poles.
My dad has a friend who's an artist who built a totem pole in his back garden. He was told he couldn't build an extension, but that didn't extend to him doing anything in his garden, so he just built a massive totem pole and screwed off his neighbours for months.
Basically, flipping the bird to the council.
It's very much flipping the bird.
Yes.
He could build a garden room as long as it isn't attached to his house. He doesn't necessarily need planning permission.
Just make a little gap.
You only need planning permission once you connect it to your house, as long as you stay within certain guidelines.
Yeah, that, and you don't need planning permission if it's bolted to the ground, because then it's a temporary structure.
There you go.
But,
we're learning today.
But speaking of flipping the bird, Jerry, I hope he doesn't have any Scottish friends who are going to come around and just look at it and go, "That's a nice caber."
That is
look at those
shocking.
Yeah. Into the neighbour's garden.
Oh wow, I love that Moctezuma mod.
Moctezuma.
Oh my days.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to Montezuma.
And the Aztec officer. Oh my god. Oh.
Yeah. So the original line started back in 2012. The first Kickstarter was launched to sort of start building the line and produce the first game. And then they've had a couple since then to expand it, and you can see the sort of progression of sculpting. As you go, Montezuma is the bomb.
I mean, them is some very big feathers or palm leaves or whatever. I'm not sure if you get a bird with feathers that big.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
And then you can cast Montezuma's revenge on the people coming at you. Again.
Oh, these are great. I love these.
The Aztecs are
so you could use these alongside the plastic stuff from Wargames Atlantic. If the scales work out, I suppose.
The scales are very good for these to match into Wargames Atlantic, because they're both 28 mil and both realistically proportioned. Wargames Atlantic's historic ranges are slightly smaller than their sci-fi and fantasy, because they don't need that ridiculous heroic nonsense going on. You just want people who look like people.
I've sorry, go on, Justin.
Well, I was just looking at them and thinking it's kind of nice to see that they're not just going
that
pure
people.
The world's first onesie.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the world's first onesie, but they were fans of it. Like I say, so there are occasional little chibi thing, but in the main, they're all good in the hood.
Yeah.
Can you open up that coyote?
I'll get to the coyote officer.
Yeah.
Don't you worry. Do you not want to see the general first, though?
Oh, that's cool. I wonder if that was like I assume that's kind of like a standard for them, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, whenever you're in the jungles and everything's green, having something bright yellow and red, it makes it easier to find the boss.
Yeah.
Of course, that's a bad thing.
I love that.
I'm guessing you could mix these in with the Mythic. Was it the Mythic Americas from
Mythic
Warhammer?
America? Yeah.
Although foot on steps.
Yeah, well, except they had plenty of them about.
Just saying.
That's the first bit of El Dorado, somewhere in the depths of a jungle somewhere. So. Ooh. Wow, what the hell are those things with the snaky? Oh my days.
Calling up spirit snakes to bite your enemies in the face.
Wow. I love that. I mean, it's tiny, but I love that. I always remember reading I think it was a Horrible Histories years and years ago, where I first learned about those weapons they had with the sort of obsidian blades on the end.
The Macawattles.
And just how utterly deadly they are. And I was like, oh my God.
Obsidian is, because you think it's a club, but it's not really, because obsidian is incredibly sharp when it's
at work.
I'm trying to remember, napped
into
blades. So it's like
it's like an axe in a way. Axe sword.
This is that really dark volcanic rock we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's a type of glass.
As soon as one blunts, you just knock it out, put a fresh one in.
Yeah. I remember this amazing. There was a fantastic illustration in this history book where it was just this Aztec or Mayan warrior just wading through sort of European colonists, killing them all with his with his weapon. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's really cool. I want one of those.
Speaking of Europeans, do they do anything to go along with this, or do they just do the Aztec side of things?
No, it's all tribal stuff. So if I pop back to here, you see the two sort of biggest ranges are the Pacific Northwest and Aztec. But if I go to more, in fact, I better just move us out of the way completely here, because whenever I click on more, you'll see what else is coming in.
Oh, okay.
So some of these will repeat, because when you hit the spirit beasts, depending on the proximity of tribes or where they met each other, obviously stuff moved back and forth, because you may get some bits and pieces kicking around. But you've got Hawaiian, Incan, Inuit, Maori, Mayan. Some of them may only be a couple of models, and other ones are sort of more rounded out, especially when we hit the spirit beast sort of neck of the woods.
Oh,
there's one of the more recent ones for the Hawaiian.
I really like that.
Bit on Tiki Head.
Just screaming Atlantis there, isn't it? All you what was I going to say? All you wrong people out there who think Atlantis started things. It didn't. It's not true.
They don't have Easter Island, though. Oh,
they unfortunately they don't. Although the some of the island ones may be, trying to remember who migrated to Easter Island. It'll come to me, or won't.
People that cut down all the trees and then died off. That's how.
Well, they needed to move those heads.
Yeah.
Like, who decided? Oh, there's the last tree. What will we do with that? Cut it down.
Just a nice
a drama doc of it, and there was actually a scene in it where they were dragging one of the heads along on the trees to roll them, and one of them was going, "It's too hard to pull them. There's too much friction." And the guy just literally picks up a bit of fruit out of someone's hand and just goes, "Put that in there, squish. Okay, now it'll move. On you go." So not only are we not doing the trees, we're not doing food. That's how this story's going.
Yeah.
Let me just move away from humans. Like I say, there are other bits and pieces in there. It's really offensive. We're all going to be over here today. I'm just saying. That's where we live now. And if you can't see that, it's because I've just moved all of us on the screen. I want to have a look at the more interesting things, your spirity beasts, of which there are many. Ooh. Like I say, some overlap, some don't. So there's your answer to what that cub was that she stole.
Oh, so that's the mummy.
That's mummy. It's an orca wolf.
Wow.
I mean,
killer whale.
This is what I expect whenever I see like a bad horror movie of land shark. That's what I expect it to look like.
Interestingly,
it's terrible.
They do call orcas like sea wolves of the sea, don't they? So that's pretty neat. That kind of
killer whales.
Works, so. Yeah.
Oh, it still has a blowhole.
They believe orcas and whales and dolphins all actually evolved from a wolf-like creature.
Oh. I'm learning lots of things.
I bet you that's just puffing magic smoke out of its blowhole all the time.
That Wendigo.
I like that because it goes into the slightly more sort of unique take on the original take on the Wendigo, which I think is really nice. Where it's the people that kind of eat flesh and stuff. I think it's really
cool. And it's got that big distended belly where he's just finished up somebody.
Yeah.
Looks like one of the werewolves from The Howling.
Yes.
What is
Sisusul, the Great Sea Serpent, which is Pacific Northwest.
Wow.
Tribal, apparently. Like I say, most of them, or in fact, all of them, have a little text paragraph below where you can find out a little bit about them.
The YouTube viewers can go to their web store and learn lots more about parts of the world that you probably didn't know anything about. So.
Yeah, or if you're just sitting there going, "What the hell is that?" You can find out.
I love the things that we never see or hear about. I love stuff like this. It's the same with East Asian mythology as well. Whenever you find out about, like floating spines and stuff like that, you're going, well, that's just great. Why did nobody tell me about floating spine things coming at you before?
I love the idea of like a monk meeting like a Pacific Islander and them going, so who do you pray to? Oh, I pray to a nice man with a beard. What do you pray to? I pray to a massive mask that has massive snakes that come out the side of it. Yep. Oh, fair enough.
Also, I'd stay away from the lake there because Ogopogo.
Yeah, that's like Canadian Nessie, then I guess. Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, the actual sculpt on that is fabulous.
Yeah,
it really is. Yeah,
and I think this is where it really shines. Even if you're not interested in playing tribal warfare in America and the islands, there's a lot of stuff that could be used for other fantasy gaming in amongst these.
I like its little fins.
Yeah. Oh, it's very delicate. It's very cute.
When do we get to the crystal skulls and aliens?
There is a crystal skull. Oh, where's he live? Is it in the Mesoamerican? It's actually in like a golem-like construct where the skull sits in the middle of the chest. There it is. I'm so glad you brought that up, Lloyd. Otherwise, I may not have gone there. So crystal skull lives in the middle.
That's amazing.
And I mean, for Oathmark, is a construct coming at you like Cleopatra.
The greatest warrior of the tribe shall never rest, shall never die. He shall defend us forever. And just that spirit's just like, I'm dead, just let me rest.
I mean, it just, again, it has a very fantasy.
It does,
feel.
Yeah.
But with that very distinct styling to it.
I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that that's where that would go.
And yet you asked for it.
Oh.
I like the fact that it has all the extra heads sort of built into it, so it feels like it's like all the different spirits come together kind of thing. Yeah. It feels like the inspiration that Games Workshop got for when they were building the Aussie Ark Bone Reapers, where they have all that kind of feel of lots of multiple spirits come together into one being, which I think obviously draws into sort of mythology from different places.
These before.
Oh, they have a whole host. There's more than just Quetzalcoatl as far as winged serpents go in their mythology, and they have a lot of them. So there's whole slew of these, and they look absolutely stonking.
Oh man, that's cool.
How's that for the size of a picture, Lloyd? Huh?
Happy. Wait, are those jaws on its joints?
Yes.
Teethies?
Yep.
It eats with every element of its body.
When you get an elbow in the face and it bites you, unlucky. I think that's how that goes.
Look how you get drawn into its arse. See them hands that grab you.
These at the back.
Yeah.
Yep. But again,
eating from both ends at the same time, Ben.
Eating from every angle, I think you'll find.
Another interesting, legendary or mythological beast that we wouldn't hear of anything about them at all. It's obviously great. Like I say, there's some of your other feathered serpents. So Tetleycoatl, Sweecoatl, Mixocoatl. So there's like a fire serpent and all sorts. They're all really nice sculpts as well. I want to see some of the other interesting things. Otters.
We are the Death Otters. Looks like a displacer beast.
We've
That's
got
cool.
Spines.
Yeah.
It's almost like we've got a saw blade down its bloody back.
Fear the otter. I've been saying this for some time. It's a big beast as well.
Wow.
Compared to,
I was thinking it was just like many tiny otters coming after you.
How do you think they lure people into the river and drown them if they're just tiny otters?
Because they're tiny and small and cute, and you don't think they do much to you.
These ones, well, they're still cute to a certain extent, but they'll have you.
I love that their tails are hands. That's great.
Although why it has leaves on its back, I don't know.
Might not be leaves. It might be a whole range of ears. I don't know. maybe they're oars and tiny Vikings are inside propelling it forward. There are many reasons for this to exist. Who knows?
The new mythology born of Jerry.
Yep.
I like the ears idea. It's turning around, listening to all over the place.
Oh, that'd be really creepy as well.
Although, what's that were-jaguar? Second row, third end.
This one?
Yes.
Nagel Brujo. So they do a couple were creatures, and they all come with human and then were form.
I like that. That's cool.
Is nice. So I think there's another were jaguar.
Very well proportioned were beast as well.
Yeah. I know you like the well proportionedness.
I do like well proportionedness. Yes.
And its tail is ever so fluffy.
There is on a big Olmec head as well. See enough Olmec heads for terrain. Let's change that.
Well, I mean, you can email them because clearly it's a separate component. Just get them to spin out a bunch for you.
Oh, I want full Olmec heads as well. The turtle demon is also an interesting creature. Again, feathered.
And quite happily carrying twin obsidian daggers.
And this is something you see on some of the serpents as well. And it's sort of reflecting the art where they have the hollow ends to the tail. So you're not entirely certain if it's
part of the creature or something.
Part of the creature or something attached to it, yeah.
It'd be like a wind-up toy, whenever it stops attacking, you
just super glued on the end. like cactuses. I got some cacti from B&Q that were flowering, and I was like, oh, they're really pretty. So I bought them. 6 months later, the flowers are still there. And then I realized, they've glued the flowers on the top of these cactus.
So hang on, real plant, fake flower.
Yeah, real plant, fake flower glued onto the top.
Wow, so, go B&Q.
So these are Polynesian. And
a monstrous clam. Oh my days!
I've heard that name before.
Huatutai.
So as you can see there, giant clam. Again, human for scale. I like how the coyote warrior is always used for scale.
He's getting into all sorts of bother. There's that coyote warrior.
I mean, he's had enough of his home village. He goes out into the world, and it's just hijinks ensue.
And again, it's it's something. Is it going to find a lot of use in some things? Probably not.
I mean, if you're playing Deep Wars.
But the fact that they've made the specific things for the Polynesian tribes to tie in with their game, great. And if you can find a use for it, you can find a use for it. I'll find a use for it in the Night Stalker army. Don't you worry.
That'd be awesome.
Or my Tridal Realms.
Just completely beat your opponent with clams.
Clams.
and then you could be like, what a calamity.
Hey! But then also things like
there had to be one.
I suppose some form of pygmy or like things that.
It's kind of like a Samoan version of the Smurfs.
You have just offended so many people, I'm sure. Samoan Smurfs. They've got their surfboards.
That's not really fair. There's teasing us with the surfboard, but there's no actual surfing ones.
Yeah.
But,
maybe next Kickstarter.
Get a whole bunch, convert your own.
They are lovely.
And it's the ogre.
See, there's the villain. This feels like a kid's 90s cartoon.
How do you know he's the villain? We're going to scroll down and read what it says about him, and it'll turn out to be a protector of the tribes.
Probably.
The most gracious ogre you've ever known.
With a hairy back.
Nothing wrong with having a hairy back.
I wouldn't know.
It's because you're waxed. Speed in the water.
Oh, dear.
Oh, that's a weird little critter.
Gecko.
A gecko. Ooh. I really like this because it kind of speaks to the idea that they did. Well, it's the same thing that happens in every corner of the world. Is that people stepped out of their lovely hovels and went, oh, look at all these strange and weird creatures. They must clearly be gods of some kind. And they've just become part of, folklore and legend. I think is great.
I mean, it's a little bit Ghostbusters where they walk out, they see it, and their friend goes, "That's weird. Yeah, that's weird. Don't touch it. Why? It could be a god. Don't touch it.
It could be a god."
Never touch it. Just check what the ogre is. Oh, it's not going to tell me what the ogre is.
Oh.
Well, we'll have to believe he's evil then. That's how that one goes. But yeah, like I say, there's more to explore.
Very cool range.
But it's really just a case of diving in yourselves and having a look through and seeing what's in there. I've not seen gameplay, although I have seen Obscurities in Miniature. It's a really good YouTube channel if people like weird stuff like I do. He has a whole chunk of these and has done some unboxings on them. So I've seen the actual production casts on his site, and the resin casting is absolutely exquisite. Especially, we've seen a lot of greens there, and it's very easy to sculpt lots of teeth and open mouth on a serpent when you're just sculpting it, because you don't have to worry about it. But the actual casts reflect the detail in it. So it's top notch as well. And I'll probably be picking a few bits and pieces up for my Trident Realms for reasons.
And there are games to play these with as well, which is also important.
Yeah, either their own going native Warpath or tribal, or I suppose you could also use Primeval supplement.
Do they have
tribal
any
as well?
Do they have any like PDF previews or anything like that?
Unfortunately, not. No.
Damn. Can you buy them as PDF, or do you have to buy them as physical?
You can buy it as a PDF and as a physical book. So it's
Lloyd's going to go straight to the Mana Press website.
$25 for going native physical copy and $20 for the PDF. And I think there's multiple supplements now as well. And it's like a little bundle, so they're all included in that.
And that's all by Paymaster Games, was it?
All by Paymaster Games, with the exception of the primal stuff, which they, like I say, they sell for Mana from New Zealand. But yeah, all the miniatures are definitely worth a look over, and especially with so many people exploring Mesoamerica and Aztecs recently. There's a lot of excellent looking character models that you can add to your warbands and nations there as well, even if you're not playing those games. So check them out.
Sweet.
We'll have a little tip. We'll take a little break and come back for the news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
All right, we're back for the news. And this week, Ben, we are kicking things off with the golden age of piracy.
Oh, yes. So the folks at Firelock Games are now taking pre-orders for everything that you would want to dive into Raise the Black. Leading the way from this, especially sort of building on the Kickstarter and delivering to everybody else, these are the pre-orders, well, starting out with the Blackbeard versus Maynard 2-player starter set.
A man who's happy in his job, isn't he?
Oh, yes. Yeah, very much
Today is a good day.
Maynard looking a little bit haggard there. But yes, so this is the big new starter set to get you stuck into Blood and Plunder. It comes with a bunch of plastic models. Yes, plastic models. This is the big focus of this stuff. To get you started, you're going to get crews, 2 full crews, for the Royal Navy and the Pirates. And you'll also get the named characters of Blackbeard and Maynard themselves.
Plastic
set
ships.
The set also comes with 2 plastic sloops, as you can see there, looking very nice indeed. It's really fun to see all this stuff coming together from the folks at Firelock. They've done a sterling job on all of this. And then you also get everything you'll need to get started. So you've got the rulebook. There's also the bunch of extra stuff for Raise the Black and scenarios and that kind of things as well. There's tokens. There's a mat. Everything you need to get started, incling all of the gubbins, which is the most important.
Double-sided mat as well. So if
it is a double-sided mat.
Playing a more, in fact, we'll just pop that open there for a moment. If you want to play just on land, you're mostly getting this.
Can we go back to the plastic sprue bit where the ships come out? That was interesting.
No.
That was interesting.
Definitely
I want to talk about the mat. We'll get to your...
But the mat will still be there.
Oh, it might not be, though. I don't know how YouTube works.
What are you worried the ship is going to get built and sail away?
The other side is a more ocean with little mini islets on it.
Yes.
And then they've also got the 2D terrain.
Which is double-sided as well.
And again, it's double-sided, so you've got scatter for your table. So if you are just starting straight into it, you can do it that way.
Yeah.
Now I'll show you the ships since you no love in the room.
Ooh, plastic ships.
Just sandwich those hulls together and away you go, basically. So
That's why they've had to go for such a big box. A box that could also be lived in your back garden. Once that box arrives at your house,
many a cat will go and live in that. Yeah. So
you said you were buying anything else? Not just this one box. No, to the back garden to live in it.
Yeah.
But come home to your missus, just like, love, you said I could buy one thing this month. I bought a thing. It's a big thing, but it's one thing, so it's only one thing.
It's one thing with many things in it. Yeah. It's the way a pirate should be. Yeah. As well as the sort of big main start set that comes with all the good stuff to get you going in the game. There's also a couple of additional things as well. So obviously we saw the Raise the Black expansion book there, which is going to come with all the additional stuff that you'll need to be playing out stuff during this golden age of piracy and the sort of 18th century and stuff. Then you'll also have new sort of gubbins and accessories as well. So there's the unit and characters card decks, which will have all the stats for all of your characters. And then this is a Raise the Black sort of deluxe activation deck, which sort of like takes the place of a normal activation deck from them, really. Mm-hmm. But it comes with all the details have kind of been shrunk into the corners, so that it's basically the art is front and center, more or less, which I think is really nice. And it obviously means that if you're a veteran, you won't need to know too much about all the details in the corners and things, so you can just use these in your games, which is very nice.
Sweet. I mean, just very quickly being able to look and go, ITV, okay, here's what they get, and off we go.
Yeah, exactly. And then beyond that, you've also got loads of new sets of plastic miniatures as well. So this, again, was the big focus of the big Kickstarter campaign they did that is finally delivering to a lot of people. Some folks have even managed to get their hands on some of these bits and pieces, which is nice. So you're going to get the Pirates of Legends box, which comes with a bunch of named characters in it for you to use in your games. As is the big thing with everything from Blood and Plunder and Firelock. Everything is very specifically historically focused, but with the idea of giving you an action-packed experience at the same time. So you're going to be doing some learning while you're doing some playing, which is always nice. You also get a bunch of additional box sets for soldiers, militia, sailors, Native Americans, and cavalry, which is really nice. And because of the way that these sets have been put together, you could use them to match any of the nationalities that were fighting during the period.
And these are all plastic?
These are all plastic.
That's a hell of an update.
Yep.
I'm curious to see just how modular they are, or if they're like single pose.
They were quite modular. Torso, legs together, separate heads, separate arms. Certainly for the sailors that I've seen. I imagine if they were doing that for the sailors, they'll probably have gone the whole hog and done that across the board for the rest of them as well.
That'll be cool because then you can get some excellent variation in there.
Yep.
And if you want a third slip, you can just go get a third slip.
Exactly, yes.
Look, Jerry, all the rigging for you to do.
Yep, not happening.
I think you have to get your own sails as well, because I don't think the sails come in the kits, although we haven't really seen an in-depth look at the plastic sprues themselves properly yet, but I'm sure once they start to come out in kind of December time, we'll be able to tell you what you need to do with them.
Is there two styles of one sloop in one box there? The sails and things are different on those two.
It gives you enough to make an 18th century sloop. I don't know what that means in terms of rigging and how you set things up. I assume you can, based on the way that looks. But yeah.
Well, I mean, your hull shapes are very different there.
Maybe that's two different ships. Maybe one's a resin ship, one's a plastic ship. I don't know. I don't know the difference between a ship and a normal frigate, whatever. So,
well, it looks like one hull, doesn't it?
Yeah,
with the rounded front. Yeah. If you look at the main deck there.
Yeah, so it'll be the one that's on the left of that box image there.
Yeah,
I would assume it's probably going to be one. Well, it'd be some nice surprise if there was two flavors in it, but it would probably be very expensive to tool up twice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you'd be tooling up, so the front hull had to be in 4 sections overall for the hull.
Yeah.
But very cool.
So so this is going to be basically the big new revamp of everything for Blood and Plunder. You'll be able to dive in, pick up that new 2-player starter set, supplement everything with those additional plastic kits that are coming out as well. Paint them in whichever nationality you wish to do so. One of the nice things about this as well is it kind of pushes things towards that kind of Queen Anne's War and the French-Indian War and that kind of stuff as well. So there's a big reason to include your Native Americans into the mix, fighting alongside pretty much every one of the nations, really. And that also means you can go and explore a lot of the books that Firelock have been working on as well over the last little while as well.
If you're looking to get into some of the history of it on Netflix, there is a show, The Lost Pirate Kingdom, which actually goes through what was happening during that time period. So if you want a very easy way to start digging into the history, it's there for you.
Is that sort of dramatized documentary thing, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, so
like Vikings, but for pirates?
Kind of, but
it's like a documentary
the flavor
/ thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Rather than just a story.
Yeah, but it's an easy way to get that flavor.
It's nice to see it come to fruition because that was talked about a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
The event massively got in the way.
Yeah. Are we just calling it the event now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think everybody's been calling it the event remain indoors for some time.
Okay.
As I say, pre-orders are available for all of this stuff right now. You can go and check it out on various independent stocks and all that kind of thing at the same time as over on Firelock. And you'll be able to pick it up in December, all being well, when everything delivers.
Crimble-tide.
Yeah.
Or Winterville is the
piratical
I'm interested
Christmas.
to see what the other side of the mat looks like, because I'm thinking, there's another mat option if it's just islands that you could use with the Dystopian Wars box that we were just looking at the start of the show.
I was going to show you, but it's in next door.
Because I know Warcrate will have their own sea mats, but it's always nice to have a variety of stuff to just chuck down.
I'm wondering, have they designed the mats to be modular so you could pop two of them together to expand your gaming area if you wanted to do big battles?
You could do.
They'd be quite big islands.
Go back to back on that one.
Sea to sea or land to land.
Yeah.
And the other one is just the oak and iron sea mat with little eyelets on it. So yeah, it works either way.
Yeah, it's the eyelets one that I'm thinking.
Married two of them up. Mm-hmm. Right. Shall we take a look at what Night Models have been up to, Ben?
Yeah, so another month and another set of releases for both the Batman and DC miniature game. So we start off with everything Batman related. And the first of these is a 10th anniversary miniature for Death in the Family and also the Joker. So yes, this is the Joker beating up poor old Todd. Although as a lot of people said online...
Poor old Todd at all.
A lot of people were like, screw Todd. So
I'd like to point out that is what the fans wanted.
True, it is. They voted for it. That is,
they voted for Todd to be beaten with a crowbar and then exploded, and they got exactly what they wanted. So I'm all for this.
And now you can recreate that memorable moment in this wonderful little diorama / vignette of the Joker beating up Robin, which I think is very cool.
You say beating up, it looks like beating to death.
Well, yes,
he did beat him to death. He left him there. He was still alive when the bomb went off.
Yeah, fair.
I want to make that incredibly clear.
So if you want to play sad Batman, I mean, Batman's always sad, but if you want to play really sad Batman, then you've got some interesting things to play with. Yeah. And I just love the expression on the Joker's face there. I think it's amazing. I think it's really nice. And,
another man happy in his work.
Very much so. Yeah.
I mean, you just hear Mark Hamill laughing.
I never really noticed that it was all scales on Robin's pants before.
It depends on the Robin.
When you look at it on the artwork, it's just like he's packing a load of hair down there. But I didn't realize it was actual scales.
I do have to wonder, why are the short shorts so short?
Because he's a gymnast and he needs this flexibility.
Part of the flying.
What, show that he didn't miss leg day?
Exactly, yeah. Oh, the flying Graysons want to show off their leg day.
Yeah. Actually, although that was obviously not Jason Todd. He was just made wear the,
yes, of course. Yeah.
Wear the hand-me-downs, Jason. You were never fit to wear those.
Have these been washed, Alfred? No,
but they've been slightly loved.
Joker's not alone, though.
No, yes. So as well as the new fancy Joker model, there are also a bunch of additional miniatures for you to include in your Joker gang. So you've got the Street Jesters, who are dealing out some street justice. So they come armed with a whole bunch of wacky and weird weapons. You've got a whole bunch of strange launchers and fireworks and all sorts of different things for causing chaos on the tabletop. They seem perfectly fit for Batman to beat up, which I think is quite nice. It's also really good to see them in like interesting kind of fighting poses. I always love seeing that in these skirmish games where it looks like they could be rushing around the street, beating people up. Very cool. Yeah.
Gone full on comic book style.
Exactly. Well. Yeah. And then we also have the gas puppets. So yes, say the Joker has released some of his trademark gas into the landscape and turned some of the poor denizens of Gotham into howling clowns. Now Batman's got to deal with this. sad Batman. So yes, sad Batman. So send Batman out onto the streets and maybe put together an interesting scenario where he isn't actually trying to like take these people out properly. He's trying to like deliver like an inoculation or something. So it means that you can't just beat them up because, you know, Batman can't just beat up a bunch of random civilians. Well, I suppose he can, but yeah.
if they're attacking him, he's not just going to be like pushing the back wing. No civilian. No, go away, civilian.
Man, that guy
love the flying tackle.
Yeah, he is all in.
He really is.
I mean, flying through the air like a John Woo movie.
But I think it's a really fun little set. It's something a little bit different and kind of throws some interesting ideas into the mix for scenarios, which is always good to see.
Like you say, you can use them for scenarios and objective markers.
Objective markers rather than just
Batman Miniatures game is all about generally finding the clues and doing the objectives on the tabletop. It's not just a complete beatdown.
Exactly.
A nice variation.
We also have some, we have an ally for Batman in the shape of Alfred Pennyworth, who is holding his master's cowl and cape at the ready for him. Or perhaps something has happened to sad Batman, and he's now also sad and broken, which is probably what's happened, as Jerry was informing earlier. So
I've seen that picture before in a comic, and I can't remember which one it's from, but I have a sneaking suspicion it might be after Batman got his back broke by Bane. But regardless, the clock is where he walks down from the mansion into the Batcave, so he could just be standing there with the cowl and cape at the ready. Going out tonight, Master Bruce. Very bad.
I don't know, because I kind of imagine him standing there going, "Excuse me, Master Bruce, why did I find this in the wardrobe in the master bedroom?"
He wears it to impress the ladies.
He's peed off because he's picked it up off the bathroom floor again.
How many times do I have to tell you?
But difficult it is to launder flexible Kevlar.
That is true. A very fun little miniature. It'd be really nice to see like a vignette diorama done of this, of like Batman sans the cowl and cape walking towards Alfred to put it on. I think that'd be really cool. I don't know if you could maybe chop and change one of the existing Batman miniatures in the range or something, but that would be very nice.
Doable. The Batman miniatures game that just came out with Emo Batman, played by Patterson, has got a maskless version.
Oh, there we go
in it as well.
Perfect.
Also, if anybody can remember what comic this is from, post it below because it's annoying me, and I'll have to just start rereading my Batman comics to find it.
Just to find that one cell.
That will take me a while. Anyway.
We also have another villain because, you know, the Batman world is full of villains, and this is Calculator.
It all adds up to a lose for you, Batman.
I don't think I've ever seen this guy. Does he just write boobs on his forehead?
I did think that was probably what he did, yes.
Well, whenever he needs to defend himself, just punches in shell.
So, yes, Calculator... a bit of a weird villain. I don't think a lot of people have probably seen him, but he is quite a mastermind. He can control technology from afar and use it to his own ends. So, you know, in this new age, he'd be a deadly foe.
So, yes, I was going to say his superpower is basically Wi-Fi.
Well, yes,
that's his superpower. But he has Wi-Fi.
But when his original superpower was probably like, "I'm going to fax you." I'm going to fax you a nasty message.
Your page has been going off all day, Batman. It's so annoying, isn't it?
And obviously his backstory is he was born in Texas because he's a Texas Instrument.
So hang on. Under the mask, it's Sheldon Cooper.
Speaking of atrocious jokes.
Yes. So, leading the way for the Red Lanterns is a villain, and you definitely know he's a villain because his name is Atrocitus. So, you know, why would you not want to include him?
Skulls. I see Skulls. Bad guy. I see Skulls.
So, yes, he is the Lord of Rage for you to use with the Red Lanterns. I don't know too much more about this particular character, but obviously he's going to be an interesting foe for you to put against the likes of Superman and the rest of the Justice League. But talking of heroes, villains, huh? We also have another set which includes Supergirl and Guy Gardner. So this is Supergirl, as you know, Supergirl, and Guy Gardner, who is the Green Lantern, who have put on red rings to do some fighting, which is a very interesting twist in the tale. So, yeah.
Okay, this is maybe a very noob question, Jerry, but how many colors of lantern ring are there?
All of the rainbow plus a couple of additionals.
Okay.
So... Yeah.
Sorry, it's just growing up, I was only ever exposed to the yellow lantern and the green lantern. You know, the standards, the hallmarks.
They're all there.
Yeah. Okay.
So in this one, you've got Supergirl who's using a red lantern ring, which Superman doesn't know about yet, apparently. And then you've also got Guy Gardner who has control of the green ring, but he also puts on the red ring so that he can harness his rage and use it to fight against the yellow lanterns. So it's an interesting little twist there on the kind of Green Lantern and sort of, are they good? Are they bad? Some interesting stuff there, which is great.
I wonder if anyone went full Thanos with the rings and just gathered them all.
Yes.
I assume one of them probably has, yes.
We don't talk about what happened to Star City.
Oh. Okay.
There we go.
What was it, Coast City? No, Coast City. Yeah.
Okay.
Suffice to say, it can happen, and it's not good when it does happen.
Fair enough. If you remember the comic series particularly, Jerry, send it through. I would love to read that.
Oh, it went on for quite some time. Yeah. I'll bring up the speed on it later on, but it ran for decades.
Oh, right. So definitely not enough time for a Friday night show.
No.
I will say, make sure to go and pick these up if you want to play some interesting new scenarios with the Batman stuff. And also, if you want to dive into the DC miniatures game as well, which also comes from Night Models, you can pick up those characters and have them fighting against Superman and doing all sorts of interesting things there as well. So, yes, have fun with those. There we go.
Always have fun with all the things all the time. Speaking of having fun with all the things all the time, there's a game called Saga. I don't think I've heard of it before. Anyway,
Saga?
They're releasing a new book for Saga.
Oh, they're going all Mega Drive on us.
Yeah. And this is from Studio Tomahawk, so Age of Alexander, which we knew was coming, although we didn't really know when, because they first previewed it way back in February.
Way back
in February, they went, Age of Alexander's coming. This is the second of the trilogy, the difficult second movie. So we've already got the Age of Hannibal for the Punic Wars, and unlike the other universe books, 3 books have been written in concert, so they work together. So unlike the other ones where you can't really play Vikings against Crusaders and the like, with these ancient books, Age of Hannibal, Age of Alexander, and Age of Caesars, which is going to be coming next, you've got 18 battle boards, 18 historical places that work together. So this adds in the Macedonians, Persians, your Greek city-states, your Indians, and the successors, to allow you to fight out the wars that were happening around the 4th century BCE.
You don't get to play the man himself?
Yeah, well, you can't. Actually, no, I'd be very surprised if they didn't include Alexander and his companion cavalry as a legendary warlord for you to run. They haven't said exactly what's in the book in specifics, but there have been a few previews kicking about out there. So, what's that?
I'm confused. If this is Hannibal, where's Carthage in this?
No, Hannibal's already out. This is Alexander.
Oh, this is Alexander.
Yeah.
Of course.
So
this is the other side of
the man who was so great he had to call himself the Great.
Don't know if he called himself that or if somebody else did, but there are a couple of little preview shots up, so it's available to pre-order now and will be coming out end of October, all things being equal, in English and French. You guess the little blurb at the back about what's going on. Interesting thing for me is the Diodocus campaign system. So specifically, when they've done this in the past, they haven't done an all-encompassing campaign system. So they've focused to make it more narrative and sensible, I suppose.
How did they work in the phalanxes into this?
I don't know yet. I imagine battle board abilities.
Battle board, probably, yeah.
Because all the Alexander stuff is going to be loads of phalanx stuff going on.
Yeah, you would like to think so. If they're rocking Sarissas all over the place, you would have to hope so. But the campaign system for Diodocus is you're playing one of the successors, and then you're picking. There's a map-based campaign about trying to pick up Alexander's empire. So you're not going to be playing a campaign where somebody's Greek city-states and somebody's Persian type of thing. It's very narrative driven in the same way with Edius and Arthur, or Age of Invasions, as the second edition version was called. They had the Limes campaign system, which was all about a Roman fort on a frontier. So it was very focused, very narrative. And I like the fact, obviously, some people who aren't going to be playing successors are going to probably go, well, what's in it for me? Well, all the other stuff. But not everybody plays campaigns. But I like that it's not a generic campaign, that they've gone, here is how you want to do the successors. And this is how we want to present it. So I'm all for that. They've also mentioned, and it's probably on one of the other pages, you might be able to see that, and if not, you can go to the page to see it. They've also mentioned that they're changing up how the successors force is built. So you're not just going warlord and then stuff. Depending on the successor you're using, they'll have access to different material, essentially. So if you're playing the Ptolemaic successors down in Alexandria in Egypt, then you're going to have access to different forces on the tabletop than somebody playing one of the other in like Persia or India. So the different satraps have different stuff available, but you also pick a sort of a reason why you're doing the things you're doing. So you might be you pick an ambition for your warlord, and your ambition might be, revenge or whatever, and that will change how your warlord acts as well, and the reasons you're fighting. So for the first time, they've sort of moved away from just sort of standard thing to make the successors more unique and bespoke. So if you have two successor forces clashing on the tabletop, they're not just mirrors of each other, and I like that.
Less of it just being basically a fractured Alexandrian, Macedonian, Greek coalition thing. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this. If you've already got Hannibal, then you've probably already got the dice you need. There's no new dice for this, which is always good because they tend to be
they're gone.
Hard to get your hands on. Yeah.
Which is why I always suggest people just go to a dice shop and buy blank dice and then print the stickers out, because the stickers will be on the website anyway. But they've showed off some of the things they've been using. Obviously, the Gripping Beast are their English publishers and will have some bits and pieces for themselves.
Lots of army deals and things. So.
Being a crusty old man, these are all Wargames Foundry.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Is this now out?
No, pre-order now out 26th of October. So I'm currently waiting. I'm waiting for mine to arrive.
Should I pre-order? Should I not? Because I haven't got my Hannibal book either. I'm thinking maybe now I can just pick both books up at the same time.
Yeah, I mean it's a way to do it.
Did they introduce chariots in Hannibal?
They introduced chariots in Edius and Arthur, so they're chariots in Hannibal.
No, I've never played the Edison version.
It doesn't matter. Their chariots are available along with elephants and ballista. So if you've got Romans and weaponry, and I've got those, they're Wargames Foundry as well. They're lovely.
And what's the next book we're waiting on then after this?
Age of Caesars.
Totally slap bang into which. So that'll be.
Don't know. This is the exciting thing, because you've got the Punic War.
Is it Imperial or Republic? Which is it?
There's a very narrow space of time where they changed from Republican Roman into what they called Caesarian Romans, where they sort of changed before they hit the early Imperial stuff. And I don't know if they're going to bridge that gap, so you're going to get both.
But I assume if it's Caesar, it's going to be the later stuff.
The Punic War armor and equipment would work for Caesarian more or less. And so it may just be a change in battle boards. I would hope you get multiples, so you would get the various infighting that you would have, and then the progression into the early Imperial stuff. I imagine there's Thracians in this as well, I think. So I imagine we might see Dacians and stuff. So you have Trajan and the wars out there towards sort of Romania direction and the Black Sea.
The thing that I was quite interested by is the fact that they've put together that very tight campaign. Yes. That seems like the kind of thing that you could maybe do like a big weekend of as well with some friends, and you could set up a nice event. And because it's very focused, you could have it all built around a certain set of armies that you've all decided to work on together, and then just play it out over like 2 really long days and just see how it comes together.
I suppose on the campaign side of things, each table could be a different battle from the campaign.
Yeah.
So you get through it pretty quick.
It depends. They did say it's a map-based campaign. So you've got regional control. So it may be depending on when you're fighting and how you expand and stuff. There may be logistics in there as well, which they didn't have for the Limes campaign. So I like that they're not just going, here's our Roman campaign from another book, and we're just going to
retrofit it.
Yeah, we're just going to stick Greeks all over it. Yeah. Instead, they've made something bespoke for the book. So for a game I've not actually really heard of it. It sounds interesting.
Something I'd love to see them do is actually do like level ups for your warlord. So as you're playing through a campaign, you might level up your warlord and get a new battle board.
No, I wouldn't want a new battle board.
That.
No.
Suck that.
I'd like that.
The battle boards are very intricate, and learning how to use your battle board is one of the main things. And if all of a sudden your battle board changes, you'll find that you're going to be right at the start of the campaign again.
And I don't want some swords bloody warlord getting better. I got 10 shades of everything kicked out of me last time we did a campaign.
Yeah. Now, what they have done is they introduced ruses in Hannibal, and also the big games. There's going to be a set of ruses for Alexander as well, and you'll just be able to download the cards off the website for those. And so you've got sort of specific and generic, and it means you can buy, when you're building your warband, you can buy ruses that might be things like a feigned retreat or a refused flank, and you have these little intricate cards that you can sort of play, and those are good for the campaign because you're not changing the battle border. They're like little one-off gotchas.
Little interesting speed bumps at things.
So just when things seem to be going their way, you can throw a spanner in the works or an elephant into their front line.
Or you step up to the table to deploy and go, oh yeah, here, have half your deployment space.
So irritatingly good then. So irritating, and at the same time, you're like, such a good thing you did to me there. So good for you. Terrible for me.
Yeah, but Lloyd, you have the exact same ability to do it, so gotcha.
But you just know it's never going to work in your favor. Some swords don't.
That's true.
Yeah, but if you out gotcha, they're gotcha.
I'm really tempted to pick up, weirdly going forward in time, I suppose. I'm really tempted to pick up the Attius and Arthurian Age of Invasion stuff, because I've recently been looking at a lot of the footsore Arthurian bits and pieces, and I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be nice?
I've got like 12 points of those. They are gorgeous models.
Yeah, just really get the Arthurian stuff, get some of the early Saxons.
And I'll throw this at you as well, in case you haven't seen. Victrix are doing late Roman in plastics.
They are, yeah.
So that the first test sprue of those have gone out to the guy who does the studio painting for them, John.
Also,
and it looks
Wargames Atlantic are doing late Romans as well, aren't they?
They've already done one set of late Romans.
There's the armoured ones
coming.
Oh yeah! Oh my days!
Yeah, see, this is the problem with Romans.
Yourself for mountains of plastic.
This is the problem with Romans. It's like, which bloody version of Romans do you do?
I've run that by all of them. I've got Punic, I've got Imperial, and I've got late.
When you do Arthurian stuff, though, it's okay. You just pick the sad Romans, the sad and angrier Romans that have been left on the frontier, and there you go. So, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Anyway, right before
the Romans who can't afford their mortgages anymore.
Exactly.
My villa, no.
Before we move on, I'm just going to quickly throw up a ruse. See, so there's your ruses. And that's the cost below. So you've got a certain amount of coinage, and there's different types. So some are for preparation before the battle is taking place, so during deployment and stuff. You can use knowledge of the land to change the terrain that you're playing on. So that really annoying bit of terrain that would cripple you because Irish will just chuck stones at. You can just move it to the other corner of the battlefield so it doesn't, or you can have ones for in-game, so veteran abilities. And then there's a set for something else as well.
That's really cool.
Your stratagems. There you go.
And when can you throw these down? Like, go back up a minute.
All over the
up
place,
2 seconds.
Depends.
See that one stoic there? Your unit suffers no fatigue when friendly units are eliminated.
Yeah.
Do I have to pre-announce this or just chuck it down at the point where my unit's going to get fatigued?
That feels like an instant.
Yeah. So it depends on what you're playing. That one you'd play it on that unit as I don't know actually for that, because it's a veteran ability. It may actually be always on. They just never take it.
Passive ability.
Whereas the preparation you played before the start of the game, and then your stratagem is sort of comes in wherever. So they've got, like I say, these are the generic, but then there's also a specific set for the Punic Wars, and there'll be another specific set then for the Age of Alexander book. So you'll be able to mix and match. So anyway, right. So that was
Who would have thought we talked for a long time about Saga?
Saga, yeah.
Oh,
Up and coming game. I've never heard of it myself. Anyway, going to another game that people probably haven't heard of.
So this is Flames of War. I don't know, maybe. So yes, we're going to go through some of the quick releases that have come out for the Eastern Front over the last week or so. For those people diving into Flames of War and playing as the Germans and the Soviets. So don't laugh at the names; it's all good. We have the Dick and Max Tank Hunter Platoon leading the way, which is very cool.
Max.
Alongside the Studio Emil Tank Hunter Platoon as well. If you wanted big guns to blow Russian tanks to pieces, here you go. On the other side of things, for the Soviets, we got new kits coming out for the KV-3 tank company, which is very cool. And someone's dropped their ice cream on the top of it.
Big Bird has been on the battlefield.
Yes.
It's a bird plane.
I mean, that B-17, they loaded a training round. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. There's also an IS-85 Guards heavy tank company for you to pick up as well. And then sort of to cap things off for the big tanks on the Soviet side of things, there's also a KV-5 tank company, which I think is quite nice. Before we move on to the last little section of the releases for the Soviets, one thing I really wanted to bring up about what we're seeing now with this kind of Eastern Front stuff. Now, obviously, I know a lot more about the Western Front than I do the Eastern Front, but what I'm getting the vibes from all of this is just the sheer amount of mechanical stuff that was thrown at each other from both the Germans and the Soviet side. Like, we've seen big tanks before, obviously, but there just seems to be so many of them in everything that's going on here. And, well, I mean, that makes sense, obviously.
It was very much an arms race.
Yeah.
Because when you think when they arrived, the Germans were still rocking Czech tanks and sort of Panzer IIIs and 4s, and then they encountered the slooped armor of the T-34s, at which point they needed to upgun everything to match it, and then they went to the Panthers, and then so the Russians countered with bigger and bigger, and the Eastern Front really was just an assault of every time somebody built a bigger beast, there was a bigger gun slammed into something to take care of it, and it just went absolutely berserk from there.
And if you think the actual amounts of armor, so, you know, regular army will work with a tank company. The Russians were working off the principle of tank armies.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying.
And I think that sets a really interesting aesthetic and theme for what you're doing on the Eastern Front, because you've got kind of, it obviously wasn't rosy, but you've got a bunch of, you know, Western troops running through lovely French fields and fighting in villages. And then you've got the Eastern Front where it's just mud, blood, snow, basically cities turned into rubble, and just big belching diesel-driven tanks just charging across battlefields and shooting things. And I just think it sets a really interesting kind of like feel for what you get with the Eastern Front, which puts us, in a different place from the Western Front.
Proper tank battles. You know, huge tank divisions clashing, Smolensk and things like that.
Very cool.
Which you didn't really see in the Western Front because they would tend to be smaller affairs or would be, you know, combined arms. Whereas out on the plains and the steppes in Russia, where there were just huge amounts of room to maneuver, they could just have huge armored clash. So
I just want to add as well, there's an additional little set for the Soviets. So there was also the BA-64 Armored Car Platoon. As Battlefront said in a little thing for this, they were cheap to make and quite quick. And if they got blown up, they just replaced them. And I thought, that's nice for the drivers, isn't it? Send it forward. Boom.
Let's be honest, that was kind of Russia's mentality for everything. It's basically a tractor with a gun. Can you drive a tractor, peasant? Yes. Okay, you are now a driver. Off you go.
There we go. You can experience that awesomeness on the Eastern Front with all of those lovely new tanks. I should also point out, bold British stuff coming very, very soon. So watch out for those. We'll talk about those in more detail when we do.
I've been working through product images for those for Mr. Tomo, our technical wizard. So they are looking rather nice.
Cool. So yeah.
Right. One last bit of news to round out the show. Round out the news part of the show. And that is Whampster.
Yeah. So
Gnarlwood.
Yeah, Warhammer Underworlds is going to getting itself a new core set. So this one's going to replace Nethermaze, which was the last one. So this is essentially a new season of Warhammer Underworlds for you to dive into. This new core set has been designed, apparently, as the most beginner-friendly of the sets that they've done to date. And yes, there are undead in there, Lloyd. So everything has been focused on the idea of it being a kind of very, very good entry point into the game. So they've kind of supplemented that with the addition of the new Rivals decks and also additional expansion rival decks that can be used with other factions. So you can effectively just take all of your core cards, smash them together with these additional ones, and then be ready to go with anything, which I think is quite nice. In terms of models, you've got the Gnarl Spirit pack, which is a set of the sort of Oath Warriors from the Chaos factions. Although I like to think of these a little bit as kind of like Norscans and Marauders from Warhammer Fantasy, and also in the Mortal Realms as well, where they kind of worship spirits and things, and they don't quite realize that it's probably part of a Chaos deity. But I really like the way they've gone. That's an interesting. So that is the head of one of the insectoid creatures that is been teased in previous Warhammer Underworlds boxes, and everyone thought that was going to be the new race that came out, and then it was obviously the Cruel Boys that came along, so they did the Orcs instead. But that's very interesting to see that there, because it kind of carries on the little kind of like teasers and tidbits from the wider world.
They'll arrive eventually.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. So yeah, you've got these awesome barbarian warriors to use on the tabletop, looking very nice indeed. A lot of people thinking of them as kind of druids and stuff, which is very cool. Chaos druids. But then,
see Batwings.
Yes, so this is the undead set. So this is the Sons of Velmorn. So Velmorn himself, that chap in the middle, used to have a kingdom that was in the center of the Gnarlwood, and then the Gnarlwood grew and basically subsumed his kingdom and destroyed it and ripped it to pieces and all that kind of things. And then what happened was he has that lovely crown on the top that he managed to steal from somebody, reminding me of a certain troll, that allowed him to escape his death and turn himself into an undying warrior. And that also meant that he could bring his sons back. And so that's why it's called the Sons of Velmorn, because he's in the lead and he sort of leads the warband, and then his sons are all competing for his favor. And that's kind of built into the mechanics of how they work on the tabletop. I think they look stellar. I would probably get rid of some of the Batwings. I'm sure Lloyd would on a few of these, but I think these are a very nice continuation of Games Workshop just sort of nailing the undead at the moment. I think have been doing a superb job with their skeletons.
Remove his Batwings, how are you going to make sure your shelves are level?
It's been a long time since I've been able to say this about a workshop product, but I actually like every last miniature in here.
I think,
the first time in a long time.
I think this is a set where I think I agree with you, Justin. Every one of them, I'm like, those are all pretty good.
Yeah. So, normally, I mean, whenever it was the weird underworld orcs, it was just like, yeah, no, those don't jive with me. Everything I get along with in this box.
Yeah.
You could probably unbatwing those pretty quickly, though, if you wanted.
You could just shave it off the helmet.
You could snip the top of his bats a little bit on the top of his head. Snip some pointy bits off the top of his shield. Just get rid of his completely.
Yep.
And then it's pretty much done.
Except for the Batwings on the skull on the shield.
Yeah, but I was thinking I'll just green stuff over that. Or just not stick that shield on.
Just cut it off.
And his arm's probably attached to it. But
yeah.
Mostly these are all monopose, so you'll have to... Lloyd, you get to go hunting for shields again.
Just sand it off.
Sand it off. That's why God invented Dremels.
Yeah.
I wonder what the keys are for.
I assume they're probably for his lost keep in the center of the Gnarlwood that he's kind of locked the door on, but over the years the Gnarlwood has basically just bursted open, probably.
Clearly the executive bathroom.
Or the executive bathroom, yeah. Even skeletons need to poop. There we go.
Because I had my last set of GW skeletons, but then nothing else came out that blended with them, so I never bothered to build them.
Well, there you go. Now you've got some leaders that could potentially take control of them. They're very cool.
I believe Saga do an Age of Magic, Lloyd.
They do. Maybe I'll buy another box.
Right. That wraps up the news. We're going to take a quick swish, and when we come back, we'll be having a look at some Kickstarters and 3D printing. All right, we are back, and we're going to be taking a look at some 3D printing from Txarli, possibly.
Yes.
Let's go with that. Fair enough.
It's an interesting one. Ben, why not tell us all about it? I find this. This was all me.
Yes, it was.
Why do I just see Ben's legs sticking out from underneath a bus right now?
So Txarli Factory, interesting little company, do some really unique stuff. They have their own website, which just makes them a novelty as far as I'm concerned. 3D printing company. They do also have a Patreon as well, but the fact that we're not on My Mini Factory for once blows me away.
But are they also on My Mini Factory?
I've no idea. I've never looked. I know they're definitely on Patreon. Potentially they're there too. They do a host of terrain and miniatures. I found them looking for stuff for Kings of War, which would also work for Warhammer and the Ninth Age as well. But they do a whole range of terrain and bits and pieces for sci-fi and fantasy both. So where to start? I think I'll start with the accessories because I'm odd like that, and you can't stop me. But just it gives you a quick sort of idea of some of the stuff they have in here. So right off the bat, they do really nice square bases and then horrendous circular ones.
Dark tower as well. That's cool.
Yeah,
It's actually a dice tower. That's kind of cool.
they have a few dice towers. Well, I'll throw those up in a second because they lurk here in the accessories as well. But they also do the movement trays, both for skirmishy games and
Well, that's nice.
rank and flank. So it's all good in the hood, as they say.
Yeah. See, like this is how you do 3D movement trays.
Is that a dig
Quite
at Lloyd for
literally 3D movement
that's-
trays.
That's from a while back, from where
Yeah.
someone was, 3D movement trays for their orc army was food
Bag
bags.
of orcs. Yeah.
Bring it.
I know exactly who said that, and it was me. And so
Oh,
the
right.
fact that you're digging Lloyd over it is great.
Well, but you've gone off the trays there. I see they put cutouts in it. I guess that's to reduce
Yes.
your plastic consumption.
Yeah, I imagine so.
But I don't know what all those holes are. If they're for magnetizing on the other
They're
one.
for magnetizing your 20 or 25 mil squares. So you
Yeah.
can see here they've
Yeah,
got
they
a set
match up
of
on the reverse
of
side.
blank bases,
Oh, I
and
see, yeah.
likewise with the others, you can stick magnets in there, and then when you pop them on the movement tray, they're locked in place.
Yeah.
Good
So
plan.
a one-stop shop for those. Have a look at some of the.
Oh, some of the designs are gorgeous.
Yeah, I don't want to spend all day just on bases, but the designs are very nice indeed. A lot of the stuff I know is I suppose, designed for FDM printers, so they're not. So some of the stuff isn't supported because it doesn't require support. But you'll see that the others are pre-supported where necessary, and there's some really terrific detail on them.
They're lovely. Yeah.
Especially if you're playing sci-fi games, they'd be really nice for Infinity.
They look very nice for Age of Sigmar, most of these
Yeah,
as well.
but,
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why waste your time on that when Warhammer exists or Kings of War? I know that really annoyed people in the comments, and
Isn't that just your joy in life? If you
it
can
very
annoy
much
one
is.
person,
Very much is. Yeah.
If you get two, that's bonus.
I'll
Ooh.
do that, and I'll
Oh, look.
skip to. Oh, look! You said
Look, there's planky bases.
there are planky bases. You'll find those in the squares as well.
Mhm.
And there's something that could be a bit Eldar, could
Oh,
be
yeah.
a bit Necron, could be a bit whatever. And they do them in all the sizes and styles for
A bit Asterion.
40K.
There we go.
So yeah,
No, it's Eldar. Just it's,
so yeah, the
Robot
basing's,
Eldar.
basing's really nice.
yeah.
Very cool.
But the dice
Oh.
towers are really
Oh,
where
that
it kicks in.
salute of the gods.
That's cool.
I
Look,
want
an
it.
Oriental one that might be handy.
Mm.
Look, Ben,
Wow.
why do you not have that dice tower at the side of your
Oh.
rig strategy battle game?
Yeah, it's like a cool Argoneth. Oh.
It comes out from beneath his dress.
Oh. What have I pooped out today?
Oh no, there's a problem loading the agent
Oh.
one
That's
That one
nice, though. I like that.
and the Wild Bastion.
Oh, and
So, yeah,
dice
so-
trays as well.
Dice
The
trays.
dice jail
Yeah.
for all the dice that failed you.
That's an interesting looking thing. It's very
It's offset, which is kind of cool.
because you've got weird stuff going on. It's a bit Southlands
It
more
is, yeah.
gothy
It is, yeah.
meets Warcraft, because it could also very much be the Lich King's castle
I-
or something orcish.
Or something for the Horde, yeah.
I really like that you have these dice towers as pieces of terrain.
Yeah.
Because it means that they can be slotted into your games and kind of almost disappear, which I think is really nice. Very cool.
If you got some of the signage for Infinity, this would be
for
like a Yu Jing table.
Just super fantastic and great.
Yeah, me like you.
I like the steps. You're literally coming down, the dice coming down the steps.
Yeah, they
see there the little
get kicked out like a pub,
like a mortise and tenon.
Yeah,
sort of join into them, so you could disassemble them for transport, or just glue them together and build them. Keep it as
really likey those.
Yeah,
it's going to be very loud to use though.
Oh yeah,
that's half the fun.
Yeah, they hear the fate of your clicky clacks as they.
I want to see the Forbidden Book.
I can't see the Forbidden Book, Justin. If you look at the Forbidden Book,
you have to remember what you have to say before you open the Forbidden Book. Otherwise, you could raise the dead.
Gas for tang for two.
Clearly, that's why the OTT horror story starts. I want to see the Forbidden Book. Justin, don't look at the Forbidden Book. I look at the Forbidden Book.
But we said the words.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I like that.
I like that. Yes.
Because I think it's got different covers as well, which is nice.
You've got options for covers and internal trade. Very nice.
So, like I say, so that's just their accessories. That's just the bases.
Which is cool. Yeah.
Bases and dice bits, There's just nothing but skulls. I'm really hoping they'll do a set that's nothing but rats. Because used to see people do rat bases for Skaven armies, but it meant you could just take the 40mm squares and use them as rat swarms right off the bat without having to put anything on them, because we're covered in little rats. Little tiny rat dudes. Like planking, Lloyd. You were so keen on the planking.
Blankety plank. Blankety plank.
Proper
plank.
bases.
I like you've
nice
got
edges.
some hatches and stuff being shown off in there as well, which is really cool. And
I mean, if you get the circular version, they work well for Western games, things like Dead Man's Hand and stuff like that.
Oh, even if you were wanting to do some Blood and Plunder, for naval ships.
No, that's true.
All your
do they have
on plank bases?
But they're quite small bases for Blood and Plunder, because initially I was thinking Blood and Plunder, and I caught myself onto, the Blood and Plunder bases are very small and they're round.
But you can because there's a round set of these, and you can debigulate them.
Yeah,
because it's all 3D print. It's not real stuff.
Debigulate.
Yes.
We can debigulate him.
That scaling tool. Honey, I shrunk the bases.
Yeah, so moving into the terrain side of things then, which is just, dice tower adjacent anyway. They've been churning an awful lot of this stuff out, and some of it is just absolutely surreal.
Is that one laser cut?
Which one?
That first one, the last fortress?
150 different files. So no, it's all STLs. All STLs all the time. There you can have gigantic bones, which are,
I love it.
Mandalorian.
Great for all sorts of gaming, fantasy and sci-fi.
I love the hand reaching out. That's so cool.
Well, that's clearly your ritual site.
Yeah.
That's where that's just a dead giant. That's where you set up your entrenched machine gun. Just to take on the other undead walkers, because you opened that Forbidden Book without saying the words properly, Justin, and now we have to live in a zombie apocalypse fantasy world. It's terrible.
Look, just because I got 2 syllables wrong, the world ends. I'm sorry. How many times do I have to say it? Okay, that's cool.
This one still looks like it's quite modular as well, actually.
Yeah. Well, 150 STL styles, and it's designed for FDM, which is quite cool.
You can see some of the things, so it's very similar to
panels and stuff.
Yeah, so similar sort of idea to the way Mantic have done the Dead Zone stuff. Lots of standard squares, and then iterations of that with quarter and half sizes as well. So you can make a very modular piece of kit, perfect for the post-apocalyptic wasteland or orcs, depending on how you want to.
Everything is an orc kit if you look hard enough.
That is true. Yeah, just hit it with a hammer. It's an orc kit now.
Well, no, you just get a pile of bits in your hand, ton of glue, and throw it.
This would still be probably pretty good for the alternative horror world we were just talking about.
Yes.
Have the shanty time, because I can see us hiding out in here and things are just wrong, and Justin has his hair back. Things are just weird.
Everything is up and down. Yep. Cats and dogs.
I technically never lost my hair. I just got rid of it.
Okay.
Anywho,
Oh, you've
But
got
the-
some Asgard stuff.
yeah, but there's also things, and these I don't think we see enough, especially when it comes to sort of sci-fiism for scattered terrain. We don't see weird crystalline structures.
Mm.
I mean, handy for obviously any sci-fi game, but even things like Night Models DC game,
Oh yeah.
or Lex Luthor's been growing some kryptonite just to annoy that
Marvel
certain Boy Scout or Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Yeah.
Make up some alien stuff going on in downtown DC, and they
I
have
mean,
Spider-Man bouncing off it.
if you go down into some Kree city,
Oh yeah.
Crystallized reinforced concrete is what it looks like to me.
Yeah, it could be. That's what happens when you start crystallizing stuff that you shouldn't have crystallized.
modular mesas, that's nice.
Yep. If we have a quick Butch Wars.
I read the words Middle Earth as well,
Did
Jerry.
you?
Yeah.
Did you read the words Middle-earth? Not sure where you read them, but we'll not worry about that.
Oh.
Defense line, including the big caltrops, big cement caltrops to stop tanks and vehicles getting through, which are also very good for stopping soil erosion on coastal areas, just saying, which is, I think, what they've based those off.
Yes.
But, it looks fantastic as a sci-fi futuristic
It really does.
tank trap.
Yeah.
And again, your bunkers, both ruined and intact versions, which should make a very cool tabletop. I like the fact that they've even got the things for lifting the roof into place.
It's good for your Weird World War.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind these in regular World War. They don't.
Some of the basic bunkers would work. Yeah, actually.
Yeah, it wouldn't be far off.
Very true.
I mean, how many ways can you pour concrete into a hard point?
Well, yeah.
And there you
Here we
have
go. Gangs of Rome.
Well, yeah, very. I seen one of those recently in the mountains in, I think, Romania. It was a great photograph of a Greek temple. It's like the only existing structure, and it more or less looks like that with a massive snowy mountain behind it. It looked amazing. It's one of the best preserved outside of Greece, possibly even in Greece. But yeah, having these very Greco-Roman looking buildings, again, they've got like Spaca Marine types lined up alongside them because it still works for your Imperium with that big, extravagant architecture. But I really like the idea of having it, or even late Romans and Huns tearing in through town and wrecking everything and then sodding off again. Barbarians, can't trust them.
Few Aquilas here and there, and suddenly it is very 40k.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've just finished up rereading the first Soul Drinkers Omnibus, and the final city they're fighting in is basically described almost exactly like that, where it's just like an old marble city.
Yeah.
Look, here's post-apocalyptic helipads.
Hey, they've got the Giant's Causeway.
They've got the Giant's Causeway. 30% off the Giant's Causeway. Even they can't sell the Giant's Causeway. It's just some stones at the end of the day,
Talking about that's where all the fairies live that can heal people.
This is a bit odd.
I love that. So cool.
Just missing, Gandalf crawling on something.
Yeah.
Look, there's a big sword stuck in the ground. Very Norway.
Yeah. I love that monument. Such a cool, evocative monument.
Yeah, why not? You lean into the Vikings.
But they don't have holes for dice to come out of.
They don't, unfortunately.
No.
Can't drop them all all
Here's
There's
the thing, though, Lloyd. If you have a CAD
post-apocalyptic
program,
helipads.
you can just load the STL in and make a hole.
No. How'd you hollow it out? That would be terrible.
Well, actually, most of John's stuff that he 3D prints, he hollows out because it uses a lot less resin.
That's quite nice. So these
Ornament
for the
supported.
WTC, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which means there'll be standard sizing for terrain and scatter. And as you can see, as you go through, there's a whole host of stuff, a mixture of
Just
could be
loads,
fantasy
yeah.
or modern post-apocalyptic. I really like those metallic
Titan
bridges,
Knights.
scatter, more causeway. Say causeway, it might be Iceland. 'Cause they've got more of the basalt columns than we do.
Mm.
And some weird and wacky stuff.
Ooh, little turret bunkers.
Ooh, gas station. Got one of those already, don't they? Anyway, so yeah,
Trench fans.
Yep.
everybody likes the trenches. Oh, there, it's this side.
Everybody likes to look at them, but nobody plays with them.
No, because nobody wants to be attacked
Well, nobody wants
while
to
their
go into
opponent's
no
in a
man's
trench.
land.
That's why you should put the trench running across the board,
As everybody runs
as
up
if
through the
somebody's
middle of it.
as if somebody's flanking. Yeah,
I mean, the last time we did a trench board, we actually built it so that it was just people coming into the trench. So the entire board was a trench system with no man's land.
You get a trench. You get a trench.
Anyway, the miniatures then, if we move away from the others, they've gone massively into ogres for the ogre kingdoms, / Ninth Age equivalent, whatever they're called, or obviously ogres for Kings of War as well. They're based on the ogre kingdoms, so they have a very ogre slant to them. Where are we? Oh, that's the undead peoples.
Those are quite nice.
If you're looking to play your
Filling in the
Empire
gaps
Dust or
for
your
Khemri.
tokens,
Yeah.
you too can have charioteers and standard skellybobs. Look, not batwings this time. Some sort of scaraby type things instead for you to be offended by, Lloyd.
Just armies.
It's all good. It's all good in the hood. But the ogres are where it's at, including Tusker cavalry and all.
I like that they've gone down the route of trying to make them more bestial, which I think is quite nice, rather than just feeling like big fat people.
Yeah, I was never a fan of the small feet, fat bellies.
Yeah, honing in on that kind of feral beast nature to them, I think is really cool, and kind of just turning them into big old barbarians. Very nice. Oh, I love that.
I mean, isn't that one of those dragon people from that?
The Dovahkiin's helmet, yeah.
You two can rock out ogre wars. Left, right, and
I like
centre.
these.
And that's your boomers.
They're cool.
Very similar to Mantic's boomer there, but then the big cannon, which is more like the GW one.
Each and every one looks like he should be a contestant on The World's Strongest Man.
And a gun axe.
Gun axe is good.
Gun axes are always good. Yeah, because it saves you having to break your barrel over somebody's head when you've got an axe bit at the other end that you can just bop them with.
Well, I mean, if you rifle butt them, you're technically axing them.
I like these a lot. These are possibly my favorite ogres I've seen in a long time.
It's a really nice range. I'm very comprehensive. I think this was one of the first they did. So if there's something for Warhammer or the Ninth Age, they exist in this, which means you can go nuts. Ogre Cav, I mean, who needs it? And a butcher that doesn't look like fat tub of lard towing a thing. I hated the butcher so much. Such good stat line and absolutely hot garbage miniature. Just
look at these guys.
Offended me. In case people were wondering how I found them, I was after some Gur Panthers for my Basileans and came across these saber-tooth daggers. I was like, oh yes. Oh, I see my Basilean chaff coming thick and fast, and I'm going, I could use them for Northern Alliance.
And then you realize that you don't do 3D printing.
No, but I found these via Foster's Foundry.
Actually, you found someone who does them.
Yeah. And then backtracked to the 3D printing thing. Because
do they have a list of people who print them for them?
This is Lloyd's eternal wish.
I haven't seen it, but I haven't looked on the
I have a
page
list for you, Lloyd. It has one name on it. John.
Because I found it the other way. I found the guy who prints them first, and then had to work out who made them.
So
which
you
actually
have
was
a
fairly
UK
easy.
supplier already?
Yeah. And these gorgers are absolutely stonking. Because, I mean, they're going to be used as giants or something in an army, because those are 50 mil bases they're on.
Amazing.
I mean,
wow.
And because it's 3D printing, you can upscale.
Oh, you don't need upscale. That's already sufficiently big enough. I just don't know what to use them as yet.
But you could have a Mega Gorger.
A Mega Gorger.
Yeah, but 50 mil is, unless it's a Titan, 50 mil is as big as I need them to be for Kings of War. So if I make them any bigger, then they become obsolete and unusable. And I don't want unusable. I want usable things.
I like the beard. I like the beardy boy. He looks cool. Yeah.
I find it's not just a head swap.
Yeah.
But yeah, a whole host. Let me see if we can find out if there is a way of finding who makes their stuff.
I had a quick look and I couldn't see anything unless it's on their social media. So
contact?
No.
But you can contact them and poke them and go, hey, who do you like to make this?
Yeah. They do obviously have merchants selling stuff. because, like I say, I found said merchant selling stuff.
Well, if you're sitting at home and you know of a local dealer, let us know who your dealer is.
A local dealer. Want some files?
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
If you need a bone giant, you can do that.
Wow.
Or an Idol of Shobek.
Nice.
Or find your Idol of Shobeki here. Like I said, they do have a Patreon as well. So if you want to just jump on board with their Patreon, then you can do that and get the stuff a wee bit earlier than all the other people kicking around. But that's Txarli Factory.
Something fun to dive into and have a look at this weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
Remember, list your dealers.
List your dealers.
That just sounds so shitty.
I don't think
your dealer, mate.
At all. It sounds spot on.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
Rounding off the show then, we have some Kickstarter campaigns.
Yeah, so we're going to be kicking things off with just a little bit of a quick update. So we talked about Uncharted Journeys from Cubicle 7 a couple of weeks ago. Their campaign is moving in towards their last couple of days. At the time you're watching this, probably about 4 days left on the campaign. They are now funded, and they have unlocked a bunch of additional stretch goals. So I think there's 3 extra realms have been kind of unlocked, 2 or 3 extra realms have been unlocked for you to go and sort of dive into when the book comes out. There's still obviously plenty of time for you to dive in and help them unlock even more. If you're interested in finding out a little bit more about this, there'll be a link down below to our article on OTT where we talked about what's inside the book. And also you can go and check out the previous Weekender for more information. But a solid option for those people diving into D&D and wanting to do something a little bit extra when it comes to journeying and sort of travel within their campaigns. Very cool.
Or as we said at the time, doesn't have to be D&D because
you could use it for anything.
Fantasy enough that you can stick those dull traveling moments between the tavern and the underground hobo killing party and have some interesting things to kick off.
Everybody loves rolling on random charts.
Yay, random.
And speaking of journeying, the first Kickstarter proper is very, very interesting.
Yeah. So this is from Strata Miniatures. People will remember them as doing the Dungeons of Diversity range, where we painted some of their models up. I think John did a nice painting tutorial of one of the miniatures and all that kind of stuff. And they've done really nice miniatures over the last while for use in D&D and a bunch of other games as well. But they have been working with the folks from the Dark Dice Actual Play series, which is a Dungeons & Dragons Let's Play, effectively, that you can go and watch online in podcast form and all that kind of stuff, to bring their characters to life on the tabletop for you to use either potentially as those characters or as individuals within your own campaigns. So it's a little bit like what we saw Steamforged do for the Critical Role crew. Basically, Strata have jumped in to do this for the Dark Dice team, and they are looking very nice. And yes, you will have seen just there, they have a miniature for Balmer, who is actually the man himself, Jeff Goldblum, who joined them for one of their adventures, which I think is very cool.
Find a way.
Exactly, yes. So all of the miniatures are kind of 28 to 32-ish style mil. They're all going to come in lovely resin for you to get your hands on and use on the tabletop. There are 2 sets, both of them based around each of the sort of different campaigns. And what's really nice about these is that obviously if you're a fan of the Dark Dice podcast, you want to dive in and pick these up. Who wouldn't want a miniature of Jeff Goldblum as well, of course? But because they've done such a really nice mixture of different sort of races and classes and styles, you could use these to fill in a lot of the gaps that I think are left by other companies out there like Reaper and WizKids and that kind of thing, in order to get proper, nice, awesome miniatures to represent things like Dragonborn monks and all that kind of stuff, which is something a little bit more out there than your normal kind of classic Dragonborn paladin and all that kind of thing. So yeah, very nice miniatures.
Really wacky ones now in D&D.
There are now, yeah. There's loads of really quirky races now, especially with the new books and stuff. So
we're actually prepping to do a run through Tomb of Annihilation, and so I will be playing a GIF artificer.
Oh, very nice.
Which will be very interesting. If you don't know what a GIF artificer is, basically think giant hippo person.
Yes, basically, yeah. Some interesting stuff there for people to dive into. You've got the main characters, and then you've also got the villains of the piece as well for each of them as well. So if you want to throw a big bad into a campaign and you want to try and, I went a little bit Australian there for some reason. If you want to dive into a campaign and use these to sort of play out the next step in their story for the Dark Dice crew, then maybe you want to dive in and have a pop at that as well. But yes, very nice stuff there. And who wouldn't want a miniature of Jeff Goldblum? It should also be noted there's a Kickstarter exclusive version of him in a slightly alternative pose as well, which is always nice. So there we go.
Yeah, I see that with the. I thought it was a mask he was holding.
Yeah, I thought it was a mask. Yeah.
But it seems to have holes in it, so I'm not sure if it's a mask or some sort of deadly frisbee, like you would get from Predator.
The Ultimate Game.
Yeah. There we go.
I think it is a mask with another hole in the top, like the third eye or something.
In case he wants to look like a surprised coconut.
Yes.
Very important. Yeah. Very important, I feel. Yeah. So
would you ever roleplay as Jeff Goldblum?
No.
I don't think anyone could live up to the
trying to do the mannerisms and all the rest would just be too much, I feel. Just too much. It's like Columbo. If you try and do all the mannerisms, it would just come across as hack. Whereas we all know that Jeff is not that thing.
But
so a week left, the whole 7 shiny days for the Dark Dice Kickstarter. And it's on the cusp of funding.
Yeah, so probably funded by the time you're watching.
Oh, yeah, I imagine it will be.
Very cool.
For all people interested in playing RPGs incorrectly with Jeff Goldblum.
And then we finish things off with a visit to the folks from Zenit Miniatures, who have expanded on their sort of Clash range, as it were, where they have bought
/Kensai.
Yes,
they have their own game as well that these fit into.
So they have put together their Joseon Koreans for use in Clash and Kensai, and this is a full-on army for you to use in your game. So these measure a little bit bigger than your typical miniatures. These are around 32-ish. Yeah. So they kind of work with the Kensai range, obviously a lot better, and obviously they can be used for Clash and all that kind of thing. But anyway, so they've been designed for you to use to represent your Koreans in your games. This is for the Imjin War period.
Yes.
So this is when the Japanese were fighting against the Koreans, and sort of Japan had taken over huge swathes of Korea, and there's lots of guerrilla fighting and all that kind of thing as well. You have some named heroes in there. So you've got people like Park Jae-sang and Kim Yuk, who is one of the sort of stretch goal miniatures that they're working on. But essentially, you've got everything you'd need to make a proper full-on Korean warband to go up against the Japanese. So you've got monks, archers, guerrillas with spears, militia archers, arquebusiers, polearm guards, swordsmen, and there's even some quirky artillery. So you've got the Hwacha, which I love, amazing name.
A rocket organ cannon.
A rocket organ cannon, and also a proper cannon as well. And sort of the main focus around using these within your games is that they didn't really get stuck into like full-on out-and-out war against the Japanese. They did a lot of ambushing and guerrilla warfare. So that's all about sort of getting together big bands of archers and the militia that you've raised for the fields and sort of ambushing the samurai as they're rushing through jungles and all that kind of thing, which I think is a very, very nice way to do things. And also the miniatures just look phenomenal. As someone who loved the Kingdom TV show, which is just Korean people fighting zombies, but back in like the 16th century, I think these are amazing. And so it'd be really fun to do that. But also, there's got to be a good reason to dive into playing sort of Japanese and Korean war on the tabletop, and this seems to be it. So,
these look amazeballs.
They are amazeballs.
I totally want this. I want to buy these.
There's your scale comparison. So, 32s quite easily. Interesting thing, because it's that end of the 1500s for the Imjin War. Yeah. They did fight against the Chinese in the sort of early to mid 1600s, 17th century, and the kit they had wouldn't have changed. So even though it's made specifically for the Imjin, you can fight against the Chinese as well. Because I think both the Jin and Qing dynasties both attacked the Koreans. And yeah, they are absolutely stunning. Zenit do really, really top-notch work on them. A little bit pricey.
What I like about them is they have the Asian look to them after without being overly complicated. Because sometimes I look at like the Japanese stuff and the samurais, and I'm like, yeah, it's really cool. But then all of a sudden, like, there's a lot of really little sticky out bits here and there, and these guys seem to have like a sweet spot somewhere in the middle that's not too overly complicated and it's not too bland and it has the flavor.
Really unique kind of feel to the Korean dress and armor and weapons and all that kind of thing, which I think is really nice. There's a distinct lack of very big, tall, feathered hats in here, but that's, maybe just because I want them for Kingdom.
Flags.
But yeah,
exactly. Easier to play with, easier to move, and I could build a fantasy army out of these too by sticking up
easily
a few creatures in here or there.
Yeah. I think the swordsmen in particular are amazing. I love the swordsmen.
The swordsman and the Polearm guard is great, and it's one of those periods and countries, nations that you don't automatically think of. People talk about the Huns all the time, the various Chinese, the hundreds / thousands of Chinese armies from the constantly exploding country. The Japanese, obviously, those are the big main focus, and Korea and what happened with them kind of gets ignored, probably because they did very well for like 500 years. Joseon Koreans went, and they, the last sort of battles they fought against the Chinese, immediately after that, they had like a 200-year of peace before they finally collapsed in like the late 1800s. So they were around for a long time, but they were very quiet and people just stayed away from them, and with good reason. So we never really think about them, whereas other nations were always sticking their oar in somewhere. I like things like the Hwacha.
Yeah, I like that too. I'm looking at this thinking, scroll up to the top. So you've got your ranged, you've got your close combat, you've got your like warrior monks. You've got artillery. This takes all the boxes, this set.
The Park J Sang miniature is also just phenomenal. That's so cool.
Are they funded yet?
Oh, yes.
85.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Are they funded?
Yeah. One of the things I will say, once again, Zenit and any other company who are listening to me, I know you can put bigger pictures into Kickstarter. I have seen them. Once one company has let me click on their images to make them bigger. Out of all of these Kickstarters we've looked at, plus all the ones I look at home by myself when nobody's around.
What are these? Metal? Resin?
As far as I know, most of the Zenit stuff is metal. So that's partly what makes them a little bit more expensive. And partly they're a little more sort of bespoke. But yeah, a fascinating period. And also Clash of Katanas is due. In fact, the ship has I've been informed the ship has just arrived in the UK today. It hasn't been announced yet. So by the time you're watching this, Kickstarter backers in the UK will probably be getting their hands on Clash of Katanas,
boxes frantically being
which
unloaded.
those Joseon Koreans, there's a list in there because they worked with Zenit in advance when they were running the Clash of Katanas.
Did they have a release date sort of for when that Kickstarter's
for when it's due to hit their retail? Normally it's about a month or two after their Kickstarter stuff goes out. Let me see when they're planning on fulfilling that.
That's what I want to know. Dead interested now.
So April for Kickstarter backers.
There you go. So not too long into next year then.
And then I imagine retail will be sort of June, after they've got the Kickstarter backers sorted. Zenit tend to be fairly on the ball with their Kickstarters, because they've done them by now. They produce stuff for themselves and for other people, and have done for a long time.
It's now time to back that though.
Yeah.
Before they realise the pound's not worth anything.
Get in early. I've also been told there are 2 really good films. If you want to know more about the Imogen War, there is The Admiral, Roaring Currents, which came out way back in 2014. And then there's one called Hassan, the First Imogen War. And that...
Watch the trailer for it. Oh my days.
In the cinema right now, depending where you are in the world. So it might be one that you're going to check out in streaming afterwards. But yeah.
Are they subtitled?
Yeah, I believe so. Well, you'll probably find both these days because, some people don't like subtitles. I don't like
Some people can't concentrate.
One of those
I'm
things.
terrible with subtitled movies. I'll watch the movie and I'm like, I haven't a clue what happened.
I've watched a lot of subtitled like TV shows, and eventually it just becomes like a subconscious thing. You hear the word noises, you're reading and seeing what's going on at the same time.
It bugs me because all I do is read it and read it and read it, and I'm like, what happened in the scene?
You missed the action. Oops.
Right, there is 10 days left. If you're interested in picking up those Koreans, either for Clash or Kensi or anything else, you can fit them into a fantastic looking little range and well funded already. I think that does us. Is that us?
Yeah,
And we're spent.
Yeah,
Ah,
very much so.
well,
we will see you
until
again.
Sunday.
Yeah, we'll be back for the XLBS with our Cult of Games members on Sunday morning. If you fancy a more sedate hobby chat, we have a guest this week.
you do.
Guest.
Yes.
And if you are not a cultist, you can be one for the low price of free for 30 days and browse around and annoy us, see what you like, and stick around and enjoy some more of our goodness. Otherwise, we shall return next Friday. Same bat time, same bat channel, same dead Jason Todd. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.